I'm fascinated by origin stories. It's before everything. The origin is the life before your next life. Maybe this is an exploration of an origin. Maybe this is as good as it gets. Maybe nobody will see this and this is as far as it will ever go. On the other hand, those are just the examples of negative voices inside your head telling you why you can't be great. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. I'm just willing to use them all. We all have a choice to make. Do you want to be the best in the world at your craft, and are you willing to die for it? Not sacrifice for it, die for it. Maybe this is the declaration that I'm here. I'm not here to come and go, I'm here to be the best in the world at my craft. Maybe one day, there'll be another version told. This is the true version.
Well, why are we here?
Well, that's a loaded question. Successful people, the ones that have already made it, they're always going to tell you the favorite part of their lives was the come up. When life was simple, they were trying to grind with their friends. They say that when the zeros are in their bank account, they've already made it and they can look back at those memories fondly. But the truth is, people always look back at the past and they hate the come up. It's the life before the life. This is the real story of what I believe to be the first of its kind, real-time, pass or fail story. And I may fail, but I'd bet on me.
Are you afraid of failing?
The fear of being mediocre to me is so much worse than the fear of losing everything and not obtaining your dreams. The truth is, this is my accountability. This is my action. So many people can read and see something out there and not put it into action. This is the exploration of the people who will.
What's your background?
I grew up in a small town just north of Boston. I had a single mom. I never knew my father. The thing you have to know about small towns is nobody ever teaches you about money. Nobody ever teaches you how to even get out of that small town. And to go back to the beginning, I failed school. I thought, the truth is, I think school failed me. And the reason for that isn't that I hated school or I hated learning. I love learning now. I just think that I hated being told what I had to do. Naturally, human beings, when they're told they have to do something, they're going to resist. That's just human nature. It's such a crazy dynamic in the human brain to be told what to do and you inevitably resist. School teaches you to be the 99% of people in the world. It teaches you to be an employee. Do the 99% of people run the world? Do they change the world? No. But the trade-off, to be fair, is you're going to be secure. And imagine in life somebody told you, you're never going to reach your potential, you're never going to give everything and be everything you have, but you're going to have just enough to survive. Just by statistics, not only are they going to say, I mean, think about it, yeah, they're going to beg you. And that's the world. And that is not the world that I want to be in. Because I never wanted to be a part of that, and I was always drawn to what's different, early on I became obsessed with work. My 14th birthday was one of the best, if not the best birthdays I ever had, because in Massachusetts, your 14th birthday is when you can jot down to City Hall and get yourself a worker's permit. I didn't know any other way. I didn't know that people built businesses. I just thought that you were born into them and success was a matter of circumstance and the rest of people, they just worked. And so I inevitably, after that kind of happened, I thought, what is the best job with no grades, not much education can I get? So I joined the Coast Guard and I did that for 9 years right out of high school.
So what changed for you?
I fell into that trap for a while, the small town trap that I'm sure anyone out there who's ever gonna see this, a bunch of you know, and it's just, you're not given the tools to be more. Eventually, for myself, I wanted more. And once that voice keeps growing in you, it's a hard thing to stop. And I wanted something, and I wanted a career in a business for myself that I knew I would get back what I put into it. And for a lot of reasons, I'll never understand the salary of a middle-class job. Where's the motivation to give everything? You're gonna make more money for someone else, and I know that different places are different. You can have some that have You have evaluations, you have compensation, you have whatever the case may be. But largely, maybe you get a small percentage per year. I decided that was not going to be me. And basically for the last year during that time, I decided to take myself to homeschool. And I became a sponge. I listened to everything in this space of professional gambling, professional sports betting, and tried to learn as much as I could from anyone. Even if I hated their opinion, I wanted to know why they had it. And if I consistently hated their opinion, I would keep score and say, I didn't like that. Let's see who was right, and let's see who was right over a week sample, a month sample. And so you have to be able to learn from people that you hate. You have to be able to make that sacrifice and do that and put in that work. And that was when it really clicked for me, that when I started seeing, when I tallied up the scores, that I was right more than people that I were listening to or were in the positions that I was. That's when I knew and had my moment that I could do this and I could be better than them.
How would you define your profession?
In the past, people have asked me this many times. The best answer I used to be able to give was, I literally try to predict the future. I guess the best answer I really can give is professional sports bettor. And there's a bunch of different avenues that go into that. I provide market analysis for clients, for people, and I create content as well.
Can you teach sports betting?
People think you can't teach talent. Maybe you can, maybe you can't, but you can teach work ethic, you can teach obsession, you can teach the ability to work harder than anybody else. And there's so many things that go into that in this industry of, can you teach it, can you not? It's a fascinating conversation, but I also think that the truth is, it doesn't matter what the profession is, you almost need to borrow traits from being an addict, addiction. And I'm not talking about the sense of drug dealers or drug addicts, but the same way that a mother would sell her kids food for that fix, if you're able to spin that emotion and that brain chemistry into your craft and go a little bit to a place that is not all there into your life's passion, you have to be a little bit sick in the head to offer your life and be willing to die for your craft. That's the truth. It doesn't matter if you're an athlete. It's the trade-off. I haven't seen a Netflix series in months. I'm happier. When it comes to sports betting, truthfully, you can learn so much more about the market and what it really is from reading books about philosophy, finance, than you can a box score. People try to throw darts and bet a little to win a lot. If you want to understand the concept of something, learn before the markets that have come. And when you're able to combine those things, philosophy, finance, market analyzation, that's where the success hides to me.
What is your philosophy on sports betting?
The truth is, in sports betting, people like to say it's you versus the books, it's you versus casinos, the books versus you gotta get the best of this and the best of that. And the truth is, you compete with yourself. The information and the numbers are gonna be out there. If you compete with a book, that only means that you wanna get the best of the number. The number's gonna be out there. Do you have the desire to drive at 2 a.m. to go get it? Money's how you keep score. That's the end result in this business.
What is the day-to-day like?
Think about how daunting it would feel to wake up every day knowing your job is to literally predict the future. Think about it. Yeah, meteorologists, I guess, kind of have that in their description. There's some other professions out there. But because they are content providers backed by a network, a channel, it doesn't really matter if they're right or wrong. It's a running joke that weathermen are never right. If I'm never right, I don't eat. I don't provide. Think of what that feeling could do to you.
Do you think you're lucky?
By definition, gambling implies an element of luck. That word is gambling. Gambling is different than what I do. Do I think I'm professionally lucky? No. And you've seen this time and time again if you've ever seen the movie Rounders. The people who make the World Series final table every single year, are they the luckiest people in the world? No. And it's the same thing with sports betting. I think that I am right in the long term because I know how to analyze the market better than anybody else.
What separates professional sports bettors from recreational bettors?
There was a famous sports bettor, and when I say bettor, he was a gambler. He professionally bet cards and card games in casinos, and he said, luck will never last long enough to save you from yourself. And it is such a great quote, and think of how many times you have recreationally been at a casino and you were on a hot streak and you thought this was the time that you're gonna take Vegas for everything they're worth. That is the truth. And the difference of knowing when to get up, knowing when to get out, much like trading and finance, that is what separates professionals from recreationals.
Is this a difficult profession?
Questions always get asked to me. You know, I talk fast, right? And besides the what are you on questions that come, that is because I have conditioned myself to use every second of the day to break down this market. And how do I do that? When I read books about trading, when I read books about finance, when I read books about black swan events, philosophy, sports betting, I don't have the time to sit there and read all of those. But if I listen to an audiobook at 2-speed audio instead of 1, I can listen to a 4-hour book in 2 hours, a 2-hour book in 1 hour, and I just turned my 24-hour day and I used 48 hours. That's the difference. Are you willing to give 48 hours in a 24-hour day? Only the game can teach you the game. You can't learn this profession other than losing and going through those trials and tribulations yourself. And when you look back at it, the reason that I say that is because you don't know what it feels like and how you'll respond to losing. You don't know how you'll respond to trying to attack in a specific angle and it doesn't come to fruition. You can track it, you can sit there for a month, a week, a year and see what would happen from each one, but until you're in that real life position, the truth is you do not know how your mind will react. And how do you train for that? The reason that this profession, amongst many other things, is so difficult is when you look at kids in bad circumstances or even people, they can have a solace. If you're a young kid in a bad situation, you can go pick up a basketball, you can dribble on your broken court, and you can shoot hoops for 20 hours a day and find solace. How do you find solace in a sports book or an office? That kind of mythical pull, that is what I feel. And it's a weird thing to try to explain to somebody how you could feel so passionate about basically a proposition. And there's a lot of different things that go into that, but I feel the same way coming up in an office, handicapping sporting events, being in a sports book with that energy that I would argue LeBron James or Kobe Bryant feels about shooting basketballs when they were growing up.
Why have you had success in this business?
The number one reason that I've been able to have success in this industry where others haven't is I look at this market for what it is. I also accept the things that I cannot control. And what this market is the most efficient financial market on the planet. People just have a warped view of it because it was only legal in one state. If the stock market was only legal in New York, would that same taboo exist? You know, when you're able to kind of pull lessons from the best traders, the best people who can analyze trends and markets, you can apply them to sports. That is the truth. You know, you wouldn't invest in a stock, a company, or even a stockbroker or a financial planner for one day, one weekend, 1 week. You know, why do you think that capital firms usually when you make an investment have the note that you can't pull your money out for a quarter? It's because you have to give the money time to work. And so you have to have a long-term view. And when you're able to open your eyes and understand that, that's where you can have success in this business.
What do you want to accomplish?
It's a deep one. For the first time, I think that there's the first opportunity to be, dare I say, a pioneer of a new financial market in the new millennium. The thing is, if you really want to be great, it's not enough just to want it. And here's the catch-22. When you innovate, you show your cards. The famous quote is, Billy Beane never won a World Series. But if you look at what's going on now in the landscape of a sport like Major League Baseball, the Tampa Bay Rays are improving on what being built. What's more important to you, being a pioneer or taking on an existing idea, bettering it, and changing the world? And I would rather be the person who built on existing ideas and did everything I could with them than be a pioneer who never wins.
So what does it take, honestly, to make it betting sports?
You have to ask yourself one question, but really it's two. What are you going to have to give up for your dreams? And are you willing to? It's one thing to plan and see on paper what you're going to have to give up. The other question is, are you willing to? Your family, your time with your dogs, your friends, going out, your hobbies, your money, and understand you may never make it. Some people aren't willing to answer that question. I'm here to say that I'm accomplishing showing people this is what happens when you do. I would challenge anybody out there. Figure out what your actual goals in life are and forge a path to get there. And when you see just what your goals will cost you, just what you'll have to give up, many people run and hide. That's the truth. But when you're able to map them out, at first that's what you'll feel. Fear, to me, has no place on paper.
How has social media changed gambling?
Look, the brand Christian and the person Christian are something I'm still struggling to define a little bit. Mostly because I think they should be the same. I never really understood I'm a brand and I can monetize this and monetize that. It's difficult to do in an age of social media where it's the highlights of somebody's lives. It's not going to take very long for you to go search professional gambler on whatever platform, and you're going to see a lot of people glorifying the life, popping bottles in clubs, playing strip poker with models, whatever it is that you want. There's an illusion out there of a shadow life that is going to give you the rewards without the work. And I'm not sitting here trying to judge anybody for anything that I don't know personally. I'm going to make my own decisions about anybody in life. But look, there's people out there that win more than me. And what I mean by that is not wins and losses. They know how to market themselves better. They've had the fortune of being in the right place at the right time and getting exposure. And I'm not going to fault anybody for that. Nobody's holding a gun to anyone's head saying, follow this person, follow that person, or this is how it's supposed to be done. The truth is, there's always going to be somebody better than you. But on the other side, which works to my benefit, there's going to be somebody better than me out there who's too scared to try. So it's a little bit of a give and take. Here's the thing. There is a fine fucking line between documenting and creating. You can go out there and create a world that doesn't exist. You can go borrow people's money. You could put them on Instagram. You could go rent cars. And in today's day and age, the fact is it's going to work. On the surface, at least. You know, why and how you think about what you really want out of this business and professionally what I want.
What do you want to accomplish professionally?
It comes down to being authentic to me. I want to tell my story. I want professionally many things, but personally, it's pretty simple. I would like to be shown things can be done the right way and what that means on the personal side, not the professional side. Professionally, it means dollars and cents. How much money did I make? How much money did I make people? That's professionally. Personally is knowing that person did it the right way and they were a stand-up guy about it. I think that I hope to one day be remembered as the best dad I never had, the best future husband I could possibly be, and maybe the guy who literally invented the next financial marketplace. You know, if you notice, I go back and forth because I try to consistently blend my professional goals with my personal. And sometimes they go hand in hand for people. For me, at the end of the day, when you ask what I want to be or how I want to be remembered, Frank Sinatra famously said when he was asked how he wanted to be remembered. He said, "I would like to be remembered as a man who brought an innovation to something peculiar, that I wish somebody would learn so that it didn't die. I'd like to be remembered as a man who had a wonderful time living his life and who had a great family and great friends." Could you ask for anything more? In my opinion, no.
You seem to talk about other people a lot. Do you think maybe, I don't know, worship fake idols?
I think when you grow up and you don't know exactly the true concept of direction or what you want or who to follow, you search outwards. And I pull inspiration from people who have changed the world. And it doesn't matter if they did it on a television show. It doesn't matter if they did it 50 years before I was born. Legacy is legacy, and isn't that what we're all after, to be remembered far after we're gone? In my opinion, if you don't know how to do something, you ask yourself one question: who is the best at this? And you learn from them. People can read a self-help book, and it can give you every answer that you ever want. You read it, you feel motivated, and then nobody puts it into action. And that can be applied to sports betting, that can be applied to life, it can be applied to anything. The fact is, a doctor can give you the exact right medication. If you don't take it, it's useless. And it's always been funny to me that, one of my biggest pet peeves in life is people saying, "I have a headache," you offer them Tylenol, and they say no. If you want to be the best at anything in the world, you have to be willing to change your mindset and put it into action. Now, when you talk about people I pull inspiration from, sure, that doesn't make them a false idol, in my opinion. The true meaning of a muse is, in a more abstract, cut to the chase part, is basically, if you work hard enough and you put in the work, you will find your inspiration one way or another. Now, you go down the mythology route of somebody's going to give it to you and the angels, this or that. To me, I really do believe that if, as long as I keep going down this path that I'm on, that I'm going to change the world. And I want to give back. I want to mentor from afar. I want people to know that I went through the same struggles that everyone else has gone through. And it's a weird thing to put yourself out there, for sure. But in a roundabout way, I don't worship false idols. I just think that you have to pull from the 1%. You have to pull inspiration from people who have changed the world, athletes, poets, you name it. But the second part is you have to put it into action.
What do you think about the negative and taboo aspect of gambling? Or people that think selling plays is a scam?
By definition, gambling becomes an addiction when gambling crosses the line from something that is meant for entertainment and fun, and when it gets turned into something more darker and pathological. That's the definition of a gambling addiction. Does that mean I'm a gambling addict? This isn't fun. That's the truth. So it's a little bit of a weird line. You're talking about being in a business built in the dark that has ruined lives. I get it. Now you're going to talk about selling dreams to people. You're going to talk about on the other side of stuff, and it makes a ton of sense. Here's the deal. When you go invest in a stock, you go invest in a company, do stockbrokers just want your money? I mean, yeah, but they use it to make more money. And when it's done right, it's a win-win. People just don't understand the profitability of this market yet because it's littered with bad people, number one. And number two, nobody knows how to navigate it the right way yet for a myriad of reasons. Do people, when you go invest in a stock, does a stockbroker just want your money? Sure, they're gonna get a percentage, but they use your money to make more money, and it's a win-win. And I think that because this market has been in the dark for so long, nobody understands that. And that's a tough ask of anybody, let alone me, to try to shift everyone's focus of a whole financial market. It's littered with bad people because it's been in the dark. In a lot of ways, a lot of this goes back to the fact that I think everybody is an addict in some way. Some people are addicted to sitting on their phone, browsing Instagram, watching YouTube. Some people are addicted to women. Some people are addicted to drugs, alcohol. Some people are addicted to porn. Whatever your vice is, the difference becomes when you're able to shift that addictive quality into your life's passion. That's what separates a professional from an amateur sports better, but pretty much in anything, there's, on top of that, there's two things. Discipline and the amount that you bet are the two biggest things that will ever separate a professional sports bettor from a recreational one. When you talk about people that think I just want their money, first of all, rational fear is a very different fear than what I was talking about earlier and how you need to kind of overcome that. Don't go put your hand on a hot stove. You're going to get burned. That's rational fear. It's instilled in your brain for a variety of reasons. If you're going to invest your money and you see an industry littered with bad people, I get it. If gambling is such taboo, sports betting is such taboo, does that make me a professional taboo dealer? In some people's eyes, yeah, and I'm never going to break that. The truth is, if you want me to sit at your table, I don't want to sit at your table. I'm here to do many things, but amongst them is, like I said before, take this from the dark to the light, because this is a market, and when it's done right, it is a win-win across the board for everybody.
Should people be afraid of buying plays or following someone else in sports betting?
I know what this market will become, and let's just get something out there. I give my personal bets to people for a fee. This is what is called a tout in the sports betting industry. It's a bad industry. There is no doubt about it. Many, many reasons can go into that, but the number one aspect is, if you are so good at, the number one question I should say is, if you are so good at betting, why do you need to charge people a nominal fee? Why wouldn't you just bet more on your own stuff or whatever? I would say this. Number one, like the Joker says, talking about false idols, if you're good at something, never do it for free. It's literally tattooed on my arm. There's a lot that goes into that. The other thing is, if I'm going to put in everything that I've talked about, putting in 10 to 15 hours of research, market analytics, everything, and somebody else wants the fruits of that labor for nothing, I feel I should be compensated. I hate to keep making this comparison, but what would happen if a stockbroker asked to not be paid for his stock advice? It would literally cripple an industry. Why is this any different just because it's a market that is not known yet? It doesn't make a lot of sense, other than it's the unknown and people are still scared. So I get it, because people have done it in the shadows. People have done it in backroom deals. Wait until, when you see what this market will become and what I'm going to get out ahead of, you'll understand kind of what I'm saying. But I feel I should be compensated for everything I just talked about.
What do you think about the legalization of sports betting and what it means for that?
The thing with legalization coming to the fruition is, picture stocks, Wall Street, everything just became legal outside of New York. It would be the same situation, just reversed. That is what's happening with the sports betting market right now. So let's say you want to invest in the stock markets. And I'm not making this sound like a pitch. I literally just caught myself kind of hearing how pitchy and come with me that sounded. That's not what this is. I just want to explain a situation. If you did not know how to buy stocks, what stocks to buy, what would you do? You would hire a stockbroker. You would hire a financial advisor, a capital firm, whatever it is. That is where this market is going. This is what this direction is kind of coming with. And when you talk about taking money from people or taking a fee, people truly only care when they're the ones that are footing the bill. When somebody makes it or gets a job on ESPN or some sports gambling outlet, people are more than happy because they're not paying the bill. That's the truth. It's coming from networks. It's coming from commercials. It's coming from ads. When you're asking a consumer to pay for those services, that's where the backlash will come from. There's no difference. How is this any different than a SoundCloud musician who doesn't have a record deal, doesn't have a platform, going out there and making one, putting their music out there for free for a while, and then eventually charging for a concert? Why are people, not damned, but why are people criticized for going after what they want, creating their own platform, rather than waiting to work for somebody? It seems a little bit backwards to me.
How is this market changing?
Mostly, people, they fail to see the changes that are in front of them. This sports betting market, much like other ones, is changing. That's just how it is. You don't order dinner on your phone to be delivered the same way that you used to call and have your food delivered 5 years ago, let alone 10 years ago. When you look at this betting market in Vegas as a whole, the biggest players in the world don't even usually come to Vegas anymore. They bet what's known as off-screen. They are able to move more money than is wagered in Vegas, bar none, every single time. And, when I moved here, had I known then what I know now, maybe I would have thought differently about how to attack it, but truthfully, Las Vegas is one, it for me, and two, I'm a little bit of a romantic for how Vegas used to be, and I think that I still look at Vegas as the Wall Street of sports betting, no matter how many cities legalize it, states legalize it. Las Vegas is Las Vegas. It's the birthplace. It will always have that special place. But it's important to realize the market is changing.
What's the best advice you've ever received about sports betting?
The biggest baseball bettor in the world, who is a friend of mine, has said one thing to me that has hung true since the day that he said it. And he basically said, Tiger Woods doesn't teach people how to play golf. Tiger Woods plays golf. There's a lot to be said for that on a lot of different levels. And when you get in this industry, or you're in this industry, I think you know exactly what he was talking about. And the best people in the world don't host podcasts. They don't do videos. They don't do this type of thing. They don't do anything except work for themselves, get their number, and go hang out in Costa Rica or Vegas or wherever they are for the week. That's the truth. But I like that he used Tiger Woods, because inherently, no matter what Tiger Woods has done in his past, you probably find yourself rooting for him on Sundays. That has always fascinated me. And I think that maybe if I can teach people how to play golf, in this case sports betting, maybe I could be rooted for the same way. I think we're all after some respect, some admiration from peers, some whatever. I think that's just kind of built into us.
Where do you see sports betting going?
It's intricate when you talk about where this market can go and where it will go. With legalization of this new market of sports betting across the United States, Canada, it's going to go everywhere eventually. This is the inception of a new fucking financial market. I need people to understand that. And just because 1% of the population did it legally, there was, I believe, 2 billion wagered in Nevada prior to legalization, and 400 or 200 billion. I know it's a big gap, but illegally. Think about that. Now that that pie is being shifted and spread across America, where is it all going to go? Now, we have seen leagues, at least on the surface, talk about how they're for it. They were put in that position, and if you can't see that, then I get your position, but leagues want to, sporting leagues professionally want a piece of that pie because it's going to happen. Now, people can sit out there and say, publicly, we're for it, we think that it's great to bring it out. The truth is, you could have done that before any of PASPA being repealed. You could have done that a while ago. This was them being kind of back against the wall. This is happening. You can make money on it or you can fight it. And it doesn't matter which position that you take. You can fight it. It's still going to happen. You'll make no money, or say you're with it and you'll make money. And that's the truth. And for leagues to, talk about how they don't want it, the NFL is still a big proponent of non-legalized betting. What they don't understand, and I think a lot of people won't understand, is this could have the ability to be a literal two-way financial market that is bigger than any stock, bigger than Wall Street, bigger than anything else in the world. When I say two-way, not only are the athletes getting paid millions of dollars, not only are, or they're not, and it's an 18-year-old engineering major waiting to make a free throw or not. It's a two-way market because it could be the biggest financial outcomes in the world on one side that nobody will talk about, and what's going on the court or on the field.
Why do you think people should invest in this market?
When it comes to the other side, and it comes to the analogy I'm making and keep making of brokers or venture capitalists or somebody handling other money, right? This is the issue. When people understand, when you go to a financial advisor and a 2 to 4 to 5% ROI in a year is expected or promised, that is going to quickly become a thing of the past. When people look at the sports betting market and can see 8 to 9% ROI per sport per season. Nobody is, and especially me, is sitting out there telling you trust anyone that says they hit 75% and their ROI is 20%. That's a red flag. The best people in the world, 8 to 10% ROI, 58% of their bets. That's the truth. And so once that comes to the light, you're talking about what, 4 to 5 major sporting events throughout, the 4 major ones. That's not including soccer, tennis, UFC, boxing. There's a million out there. Think about 8% compounded, times 8. Why are people still going to put their money in the hands of financial advisors when sports is obviously the most lucrative market in the world right now? Because of the connotation, because of how people view sports betting. I'm a results guy, and I know that can be hard to swallow. It's legal. There's nothing wrong with it. What's the problem?
Why do you feel you're qualified?
The last problem is there's no schooling. You can go get an MBA at Harvard, become a stockbroker. Great, you have the credentials. Where's the certification or schooling for sports brokers, sports investment brokers, touts, whatever you want to call it? There's negative and positive connotations associated with that within the industry, whichever term you use, fine, but it's all the same thing. In navigating that of who, because there is no certification process, there is no anything, it's going to be a hard ask for people to trust their money in a new market they don't know, in a market looked at as taboo, as looked at as degeneracy, as looked at as everything wrong with America in many places. How do you break that mold, right? And SEC sanctions are something that are there to protect people against that and protect protect people from brokers. There's no SEC violations if you take someone else's money and put it in a pot and bet sports with it. The most likely thing to happen in your world is you're gonna get a fucking PayPal dispute, because that's where the world operates. But what if it was into the light? That's where this market is going.
What do you think of content providers?
To make this mainstream, the people that are so financially well-backed, Action Networks, Gambling at Barstool, go down through the line, you can name it, Insights. A lot of these companies and everyone who works there, not everyone, but a lot of people, I have a lot of friends who work at these companies, I have nothing bad to say about them. They're shining a light on gambling. It's the best thing in the world right now for what this industry needs. The problem is when you shift from actual investing, actual high stakes money, investing into a market, and you bring that to content, you bring that to comedy, you bring that to places, it's for clicks. Nobody out there who rightfully knows what they're doing investing in this market would ever tell you to make a 5-team parlay. Nobody ever, you can go down the line, but it's there for clicks, it's there for personalities. They have the backing, they have the investing. I'm never gonna knock anybody for trying to make a living and companies trying to become the forefront of content distribution in a new market. I would do the same thing in that situation. This is going to go big. The average non-betting fan watches 15 NFL games a year. The average betting fan watches 50. So for why wouldn't, imagine you could, what is that, four times X your revenue of viewers just by publicly saying, we want this, it's legal now. It is literally the biggest win-win-win-win-win across the board to ever happen. But because of the people who actually know how to navigate this market, and because of the sins of stuff that they never did or came before them, they're not going to get the chance to, for many reasons, work on those networks, be on those networks. It's the same thing I talked about before. Sometimes you got to create your own platform. Schooling, education, credentials, gamblers usually don't have those. It goes back to being self-made and self-destroyed. Our brains just don't work normally. We're not conditioned to go to school, get a journalism degree, get a video degree, and then put out content. Gamblers want to operate in the shadows. And for those very few that want to do both, it's going to be a hard ask, but this is coming, and to do it the right way, when it is done the right way, will be the most profitable endeavor possibly of all time.
Can people really make money in this market?
I think that once in a generation ideas happen every single day. And I think that the difference is there's one person in a generation who acts on them and takes them the full way. An idea, until you put the action behind it to see what happens, maybe you fail, maybe it's not, maybe it is. Until you put that action, you don't know. I feel that if everyone kind of would be able to put that action in, we would have much more once in a generation ideas to maybe 100 generational ideas. Problem is people don't put them into action. And look, like I said in the beginning, this is my accountability. This is to keep me honest, to put it into action. Because what I plan to do next with this market and everything like that, it's a once in a generation thing. And like I said, I may fail. I said I would bet on me. A lot of people said I would fail moving from the Coast Guard to the steadiest paycheck in the world to Las Vegas to be a professional gambler. 3 years later, I'm still here. And let me make one thing clear. People do, and people will continue to make money in this market. People just don't know it yet.
What would you tell someone who wanted to invest in this market in some way?
I think the wording of that question is interesting because you have to be self-aware. Are you after money? If you're after respect, it's different. If you're after notoriety, if you want to create content. The thing about being a professional sports bettor is the connotation that I had is usually much like everyone's. It's all you do is run around all day placing bets, and that's your income. For some, that's the case, but I think that having different revenue streams that go into that is really key. Now look, if your only goal is to make the most money possible and you don't care how you do it, you need to take your ego out of it, and you need to understand that the information is out there. Let somebody who knows more analyze it and do it better for you. Reap the rewards. You'll never stress. You'll never have to worry about anything. If you're after the other side, which is, there's a difference between making money, investing in this market, and making money being a professional sports bettor. The other ones are tied into things like respect, notoriety, admiration, having people know that you did it via sports betting, because let's face it, that's the allure, is making money in a field nobody else did. That's inherently what, more than making money, kind of how you do it is what drives a lot of people. That's the respect factor. That's the pump your chest out factor. You have to be self-aware of what you want. If it's money, I'm telling you, the easiest way is let the other people who know exactly what they're doing analyze it for you and reap the rewards. The other one is going to take away from that path. The other one is going to involve long nights, early mornings. It's like anything. If you treat it like a business, it will become a business. You have to invest money back in it. Information is king. Are you willing to pay for information? The sad truth that nobody really wants to talk about, and I kind of went back and forth about this, is if you don't think athletes, if you don't think anybody involved in sports is so deep into this industry, you can't even comprehend. That's for you to decide. You need to decide if you want to get involved in this, what avenue you want to get involved in it.
So what's next?
This is not a one-off. And what I mean by that, this isn't one interview designed to sell you on me or sell you on my business or say, let me make you money in this market and go the full selling route. That is not the intention of this. This is as I said in the beginning, the first of its kind in my estimation, accountability of somebody trying to do one of the biggest things in the world. And we're going, as we go through this journey, we're going to see what happens along the way in real time. I may fail, and this will be out there for everybody to laugh at and say, this is why you don't take chances. That's the truth. This journey, this video series is going to show you, pass or fail, whether somebody can make it. And again, I know people may sit out there and say, you're in a place that I wish I could be in. Great. I am not content, and I won't be content until I change the world. And that will kind of be the conclusion of this series is, did I do it or did I not? But we'll see what happens along the way. And again, I bet on me.